This is a tutorial on how to do the Flash Slideshow exercise that you'll be doing in class. When you first open up Flash, you are going to open a new ActionScript 3.0 Flash movie. When you do that, you're going to enter an interface that looks like this, and you'll be in Scene 1. And as always, we should make sure we save. So I will save this as something, and it's a little less important where you save things with Flash because images are not relative in Flash as they are in HTML. But I'm going to go ahead just for organizational purposes and save it here, and I'll call it Slideshow for now. Notice the Flash file format is FLA, and I'll put it in this folder where I have a bunch of pictures that I'm going to use in the slideshow. So we've got it saved. We also need to size the interface because the default is 550 by 400, so let's edit that to be something a little bit larger. I'm going to say more like 900 by 600 to keep it within the dimensions of most people's monitor sizes. The rest of the defaults you can keep. And so now you can move this around so you can actually see a bigger portion of the stage, and you can also size it to a smaller size if you just want to look at it on a percentage basis to get an idea of what it would look like. So I'll do it at 75% so we can see the whole interface. Now notice we have a timeline on the bottom, we have tools over on the side, and then we have panels that open up over here. Right now the properties panel is open and the library tab is hidden, and we can look at that anytime we need to. So the first thing I want to do is make sure that I have photos that I've already optimized in Photoshop. They're sized and they're ready to be imported into this. And those are the things that were in the folder. You'll notice I have a folder back here that has several pictures that I'm going to import in the slideshow. And the pictures are actually named in a sequence. I changed that after I optimized them so that I can use one of the features in Flash that imports them all at one time. I'll show you that in a moment. Now before I import the pictures, one thing I might want to do is in one of the layers create some sort of background graphics or an interface. I can change the background color of the stage over here. I can put some text maybe indicating on the background layer that it's a photo slideshow. So let's do that. I'll rename this layer by double clicking on it. I'll call it background. And as you get more layers, it's important to have the names of them appropriately. And I'll click on the text tool here, and I can pick whatever kind of text I want to use. Just for time purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and take what I have. Rock, and I'll stretch this out so it'll fit. Rock and roll, because these are some rock pictures that I have. I can just size that, and then I can use the move tool to get that to wherever I want it to go. And I can also do things like center it or left align it. I think that'll work a little bit better if I left align it. And then I also noticed that when I established this text, it was dynamic text, and for now we're just using static text. So make sure that that is the type for your text is static text right now. So we've got that on our background layer, and we're going to keep that on every frame in the movie. Then I'm going to add a new layer, and this is going to be for my photos. So I'm going to import my photos in that layer, make sure I'm in the empty keyframe in that layer, and I'll say File, Import to Stage, and I'll find those pictures in the folder when it comes up, and I'll select them. So I'm going to select the first one, and because it's saved in a sequence, you'll see this message that says the file appears to be part of a sequence of images. Do you want to import all the images? And that's why it's important to name them in a sequence. I'll say yes, and they're all going to get imported into their own frame, which is what we want. Now notice with the background layer, it only is available on frame 1, so to keep it on all the frames, I'm going to hit the F5 key to make sure that it doesn't go away the entire time. Now eventually we'll have to move these down so that we can see our title up here, but we can worry about that later. We can size it later when we do our tweens and take care of our movie clips. So now what I want to do is obviously save this. If I were to do a control test movie, you can see the images going by very, very quickly. And I'm going to change the view so we don't see the bandwidth profiler. That's not what we want, obviously. These are going by at 24 frames per second, so it's very, very quick. What we want to do now is create a layer for actions. And I like to put the actions layer on the top, so I'll double click on that and name that the stop layer. And I'm going to put a keyframe in each one of these, and I'm going to open my Actions panel, and I'm going to put, make this a little smaller so you can see the whole thing, a stop, S-T-O-P, with the opening and closing parentheses and a semicolon. So I'm just going to copy that so I can quickly put an F6 in every one of these and then paste the action script. Noticing that every time I paste the action script, I get a tiny A in the frame, because what we want this to do is stop in every single frame so that we can take a look at the picture, spend as long as we want, and then give the user some sort of a button that they can hit so that they can move on to the next picture whenever they're ready. They can look at the picture as long as they want to. So I'm going to go through here and add the rest of these stops to all our layers. All our frames. 6, and I'm just pasting the stop in there after I do an F6. Stop. F6. Stop. And then one more. F6. Stop. So now if we were to test the movie, it should play the very first one and stop. Now, we still have our interface block. We'll change that later. But we need some way, some sort of a button that will take us to the next frame. And that's what we're going to do now. We're going to insert a new symbol into our library. That's a button. I'm going to name it the next button that we can use over and over again. And in the next button, I'm just going to create a simple looking button that we can do quickly with some text. I'm going to use just the angle bracket, and I'm going to position it over the crosshairs, and then I'm going to make it look different in each state. In the over state, I put an F6, and I'll click on it, and I'll change the color to gray, and then in the down state, I'll put an F6, and I'll change the color to black. Notice I'm just clicking on it to select the color properties, and an F6 in the hit area. What I want to do here is make a shape in the hit area, so this is defining the active area of the button around the angle bracket. So I've created the button. I'll go back to the scene. What I want to do is put the button on its own layer. I'm going to keep these actions, I should call that actions. I'm going to keep these actions on the top, and I'll call this one button. And what we want the button to do is to come in the first frame and then be on every single frame of the movie. So I'm going to go to the library, switch to the library. You'll see here's the next button, and I'm going to drag him onto the stage. Now the key thing with the next button is that we want to give it an instance name. So we want to go back to Properties and select it with the arrow and give it an instance name. So I'm going to name this next_btn, and that's what we need to use in our ActionScript code to make this work. And all we have to do now is put the right ActionScript in the first frame that relates to that button that's named next_btn. I happen to have it on the website and in the handouts for you that you can kind of steal. And I'm just going to copy it and paste it in to the Actions panel so you can actually see. We still need the stop. And I'm just going to paste this in, and what you'll see here is next_btn. That's the name of the button that we made. We are adding an event listener that says, when I click on this particular button, I want you to perform this particular activity. And that activity is a function called navigate, which we define down here, and it basically just tells it to go to the next frame. I know it looks like a lot of code to do something very, very simple, but if you just follow the instructions carefully and make sure you type in the proper syntax for the code, you'll be just fine. So now, hopefully, we will test this, and it will work. And we should be able to click through every one of these pictures, and it works. Now, at this point, if we were happy with that, we could move our pictures down to the right place or size them with the free transform tool so we could see our title up here. But in the next video, I'm going to show you how you can add a tween effect on a movie clip for each one of these photos that will allow you to have a fade and make that part of the slideshow. and then I'll show you how to publish it so that you can put it on the web.